Hey man, what's up? Do
Hey,
you
hey.
do you remember COVID 2020?
Oh, do I ever? It was a
It's a
time.
doozy. Nobody talks about it, so I figure we'll talk about it, what it was like to be
Yeah.
in it and see it coming and see it going.
Let's
So
do it. Let's
let's
do
do
it.
it. Oh my God, COVID. It
COVID-19.
COVID 19
Yes.
started for me in March 2020's.
Okay.
I heard
Hmm.
something from a person about the toilet paper. I think we all heard about the toilet paper. That's what will go into history books. And then somebody
That's right.
said to me, people are at Target and the toilet paper's gone. And then I was like,
Wow.
and I was like,
Wow.
okay. And then I think I went to work or just did something normal. And then it got louder, like there was more talk
Sure.
about it. And then all of a sudden, I guess I started to figure out what was happening. They were like, there's this thing. It is a COVID is what? It's what is COVID? Help me
Oh,
out.
like a virus,
It's a
basically. Yeah.
virus.
As far as yeah, a virus.
And then immediately something shifted in me. And I'll say it early that, and I think it happened to a lot of people, as I stopped going out as much and I started to watch a lot more YouTube with psychology, UFOs, history, philosophy, name all like those cool kind of things, college knowledge things.
Right.
And
Right.
I went right to them and I've never stopped since. So what was it like
Yeah.
for you when it
Yeah.
first, how did you first hear about it? And, you know,
Oh, yeah. So it was, I'm going to say, I did hear little rumblings about it in roughly, because I believe it was December 2019. I think that's when it started. They didn't have a name for it specifically. So it was a novel coronavirus or whatever it was. And I
yes.
heard about it. Okay, it's somewhere in China and it was spreading a bit, causing some trouble. But I thought at the time, okay, it's probably going to be like, and I don't mean to minimize them, but it's probably going to be like the original SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome 1,
Yeah, I remember that.
or even the Middle East respiratory syndrome. Okay, it's serious. It'll spread, but hopefully not by much. We'll
Yep.
be okay. So I thought maybe we're getting overblown. Now, fast forward to January, February, my mom, and I'm very grateful to her for this. She actually went and got a ton of toilet paper and stocked up on it and
Okay.
gave me half of it. So
Oh wow.
no, I laughed it off like, come on, like this is like really, that can't be that bad. Well, sure enough, it turned out, and everyone, this is important. Mom was right. The
Mom was right.
world, at least as far as the United States, it was March 17th, a rather unlucky St. Patrick's Day, 2020, excuse me, when I was told that you're not going to the office anymore.
Mm.
Everything's shut down. You work from home. I was lucky enough to have a job where I could do that, so I was very grateful for that. And I thought, okay, it'll probably be a couple months, worst case. I did not think it would be like a year and a half. So it was really, really something. And like you, I decided, well, I'm going to use the time wisely, as I thought. So I started watching psychology videos and philosophy videos, and
Yeah.
really starting to question all my beliefs and ideas,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was great.
I
In
can
that
relate.
sense, it was good. I learned a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's well put because that's kind of what I did as well.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to go back to work for a whole year and a half to actually go in
Basically,
person.
yeah, it was about a year and a half before I had to return to the office, even partly.
Wow.
And then it was hybrid schedule for quite a while.
Did you
Actually,
find
up
it?
through today? So.
Did you find it more difficult to do your job from home, or did you find like it was great? Like, what were your thoughts on
Oh
it?
yeah. So initially, I thought it was awesome. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna have a little time. I can have something on in the background that I like. I like to trade as a hobby, trade currencies and futures. So I had Bloomberg on. It's just something to listen to in the background. But very quickly, the lack of social interaction with my teammates and my even friends, other than text messages and such, it started to grate on me pretty badly. So I actually had a hard time still working from home. It was driving me crazy. After about, I'm gonna say 2 months, I was ready to go back to the office, at least partly, but obviously the world, America, wasn't ready, so I had to wait on that one a couple of years. Like, yeah, it was tough. I found it difficult, at least in my case.
So for
How
you,
about you? Did you?
well,
Yeah.
it was less. The job seemed like it was fine for you. miss the
Yeah.
social. See, with you, it was more like your colleagues, right? You missed the.
Yeah, I missed
Yeah.
the colleagues. I missed the
Yeah.
direct in-person interactions. I
Yep.
missed a lot of that. It was easier to hold meetings in person
Yeah.
with my team than it was over the phone. We had to dial these conference lines. It was, and
You-
invariably something would go wrong.
You
right?
you
So-
bring up a good point. It's a lot
Mhm.
for me. This is my opinion. It's a lot cooler to have a colleague. There's so much mutual respect. You're in sort of the same type of discipline and esoteric kind of work, and you work together as a real team. As most of my life,
Yeah.
I've worked with other associates or employees or whatever's, and you don't like them nearly as much as you like your coworkers, so that's
Right.
that's interesting you say that, because like I was just like, I'm so happy I don't see any of those people. I didn't miss none of them. I just didn't. I don't know. I mean, yeah,
That's
you miss
funny, man,
you
yeah.
miss there are people who I work with who I do genuinely have a good rapport with, and we have great jokes,
Sure.
and we keep it fun and moving.
Oh, yeah, of course,
and
right?
of course I always like them. But yeah, for
Yeah.
you, I'm glad that you actually had like also respect for your I don't disrespect them. I just I'm indifferent with many of them.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It was interesting because the lack of socialization in a lot of respects. Even, I mean, it sounds crazy, and I'm not trying to sound like, oh, I love everyone I work with, or in the entire company. That obviously there's some people who grate on my nerves at times too.
There'll always
But
be one.
there'll always be, even somewhere else, and not on my team necessarily, but in the company in general, right? There's somebody. It's just like, oh no, I gotta talk to. But I even missed. After a while, like after say like half a year, I even missed interacting with them in person, because at least
Oh, wow.
in person, you okay, it would great, and it would be like something to vent about when you got home.
Yeah.
But like even then, it was like, well, it was much more difficult over the phone or over email or over. It was just like more. It was more challenging to get
Interesting.
what you asked for out of them. Maybe you needed something from another team or another department. It's just, oh god. But yeah,
Interesting.
it was something. So in a weird sort of way, I even missed interacting with them in person and venting about it afterwards when I got home. It was kind of a funny. Yeah, the lack of socializing did get to me after a while. I
Sure.
was starting to
Yeah,
get a
that
little crazy.
that doesn't
in here.
bother me, because I know how to self isolate. I'm pretty good at it, and
That's pretty good.
That
Yeah.
voice in your head, that your ego, whatever. I know that person well, and I know how to sit with myself. I'm not saying I'm like some sort of Zen master with
Oh,
this.
yeah.
I am not.
Yeah.
Sometimes my thoughts, I'm like, stop. I'm like, that's a really weird thought you just had. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Like you're being
Yeah.
you're being weird. You're by yourself a
Yeah.
lot. So that part didn't bother me as much. It just kind of pulled me out of going out to eat. I'm really good socially. I'm really good at talking to many people at once. I've always been good with crowds and stuff like that. And like
Yeah.
I can move around. I had to learn, but like I know how to talk to like a whole group of
You
people.
learn too, right?
I learned when
Yeah,
to shut
yeah.
my mouth. I really do know how to, like, because you do it from over talking. You learn how to under talk, and I mean more like
Oh,
at
yeah.
night. So I didn't miss that as much, because I was transitioning into a different part of my life where I didn't like have a lot of friends. Like I don't have a lot of guy friends that I text and hang out with anymore.
sure.
And it's just
Yeah.
my circle got smaller, and COVID actually made my circle even smaller than
Even
that.
smaller, right? Yeah.
And I don't know when it happened, but I certainly became more intelligent. And I mean that by I've learned more, I've watched more, I've wondered more. I made a show eventually that continues to be curious and wonder. And
nice.
I'm not saying it's just COVID, but it just seemed like TikTok emerged also out of COVID immediately.
Oh, sure. Yeah. A lot of
just
people, videos,
right-
entertainment, right?
Yeah, and then watching people live was like a thing too, like
Yeah.
seeing them. And,
Yeah.
when I grew up, I thought this would be out in like '96. Like when the internet first came out, I thought that would be the internet, but it still took so many years for it to become
Oh, it has so
what it
evolved
is.
since 1996, right? It's
Yeah.
evolved so much. I will say, to your point, regarding the ability to self-isolate and to at least be aware of the voice in your head, meditation. I did really start getting into meditation during COVID-19, and that definitely helped. So that was a huge help to me. It helped take the edge off of some of the things I missed. Sure, it didn't stop me missing socializing, but at least I'm aware of it, and I didn't have to overreact to that emotion or that mental state. Yeah, the internet has evolved so much since the late 1990s, right?
Yeah,
it's just social media is huge. TikTok, watching people online, the ability to stream as we had. I imagine, like, I remember talking with family and friends over like things like FaceTime, video chats, Google Chat, whatever. It was huge. I mean, it was amazing. Like, if we didn't have that, let alone even telephone, that pandemic would have felt so much worse and even more isolating. So we had a lot of. Plus, we could stream anything, including psychology lectures or philosophy talks on, through YouTube.
Yep. And a lot of
just an amazing time.
A lot of things emerged out of it. Like, I think Jordan Peterson really emerged. I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's about when I kind of started watching some of his videos.
And I think to get a bit more on
this guy.
Are you there? Hold on. All right. Anyway, as I was saying, the COVID I found to be very calculated. The launch of it, like Donald Trump.
Is interesting.
Yeah. Trump was in what his second year.
He had begun his. Actually, I want to say it was his like third year. Oh well, fourth year really. His 2020 was an election year, so he was facing COVID-19 right when Donald Trump was president. It was the last year of his
so it was the
term,
end
technically.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now he was running. He was running again, of course. I believe it was against. It was against Joe Biden at the time. Well, we didn't know right away, I think, but Joe Biden was nominated as the Democratic Party candidate then. So he was up against.
Right. And what a crazy thing. I mean, Joe was old then. I cannot believe that's who became president. Like, it just didn't make much sense.
It's funny, isn't it? It's funny when you look back, and I don't mean like it's just kind of wild. I mean, our presidents have gotten progressively older and older. They're
Yeah,
if it makes us feel any better as Americans, the Prime Minister of Malaysia at one point, I think, was 90-something.
Wow.
Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. He's not Prime Minister now, but he was at 90-something. So, my fellow Americans, do not fret if your president is a senior citizen.
Anyway, this has been a crazy video. I'm trying to get footage of anything COVID-19 related. People sitting on toilet paper. Remember they were hoarding it all and sitting on it.
The hoarding and the thrones and those funny images they had.
I can't find any real video of people talking about their experience. Like their vacation got ruined. Like
nothing.
I was going to college and then this didn't happen.
Right?
And almost nothing. And
that's strange to me. That raises a lot of questions in my mind. Why is it something to hide? Like just the experiences people had, the hardships of pandemic life, maybe if there were any joys of pandemic life. And that sounds insensitive, but some people probably enjoyed
the
having
solitude,
some time to themselves and stuff, right? Yeah. So like it just, where is all that stuff? You're right, because I can't really not that I've looked as hard as you have, but I can't find it as easily.
Well,
either of the moments I've checked.
It seems suppressed because I know that I used to watch the TikTok shorts and people were doing dances and pretending like they were coming out of the house and that all they would drink is alcohol. Like there was a lot of content or surrounded that, and I don't know. I'm just glad this video is here to at least talking about it. But anyway, let me get back to COVID. Right. So it just seemed like a way. I think it's unprecedented. Like, has the world ever closed for business like that? Sweden did not. Sweden was open the entire time.
Sweden remained open, and after after a quarter or maybe a few months, I think Florida started to open up in the U.S. as well. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact year. I think it was 1917, the Spanish influenza pandemic, just during and around the First World War. That was another time I think the world experienced something like a global pandemic. That was the latest time before 2019.
There was the one in 1900s. There was the
that's the one.
That's
right?
the big one.
That was the big one from where we that was sort of our reference point in 2020, 2021. Maybe it's something like something like that, right?
Do you know what year that was? What year that other one was? 19 something.
I want to say I think it was 19. It was the early 1900s. So it was like 1914 to roughly 1917 or 18. It sort of was alongside World War One.
Yeah.
That pandemic. So it was weirdly a lot of people died during the World War One period, not just of
A lot of people
the
did.
battles, but of the flu.
Yes.
Which is kind of a staggering statistic. I don't have the number
So
off the top of
it
my
was
head, but-
called the Spanish flu, I think.
That's right. It's Spanish influenza or Spanish flu. Yeah.
It absolutely killed a lot of people. And for a moment there, I did think to
Yeah.
myself, perhaps this would happen again. Like, did you ever get that feeling like you thought maybe it would like kill millions of people? And like
I was afraid. I'm not the first couple of months. I'm gonna say I was worried. We didn't know what it was, and I was thinking, first I thought, okay, they're overblowing it. It's serious, but I'm thinking, but like SARS one or MERS, the Middle East respiratory.
Yeah.
It will hopefully not spread far, even like the avian flus or the mad cow.
Yeah.
It won't spread far, and it'll peter out and become like, scientists will get a grip on this and we'll be all right. But as things progressed and seemed to get worse through early 2020, I did get nervous. I'm like, well, this sounds pretty serious. I thought, maybe I will stay inside and not mess around with any of this and wash my, cases of food 10 times over before touching them and all that. Yeah.
I completely agree with
There
you.
you go.
I did find some video finally.
There we go.
And yet the
Yeah.
weirdest part is this is about like the history of the pandemic. So I can't
Interesting.
I can't get it about the one we just had, but I can get it about this.
Yeah. We can get a pandemic, right?
Oh,
Spanish flu. There we go.
oh.
Years. In 1720, Marseille, France experienced
I didn't
a
want
deadly
this. I had a different one.
are happening every 100 years. In 1720, Marseille, France experienced a deadly bubonic plague outbreak due to contaminated cargo, causing widespread death and trade disruption.
Forgot about this one.
In 1820, a devastating cholera outbreak emerged, marking the first of several global pandemics.
Wow.
Originating in India, the disease rapidly spread along trade routes, causing symptoms, including vomiting and diarrhea.
Wow. I mean, that must be something we see like a lot
It's
of
an
people
ugly,
sick.
yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
The Spanish flu pandemic of 19...
Okay, this is the Spanish flu.
1918. Okay, I was off by.
This one was rough. This one killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And in Philadelphia, in the northeast, there was a lot of
Oh, yes,
18 to
Philadelphia had-
1920
yeah,
infected about
that's true.
1/3 of the global population. The virus, H1N1 influenza A, caused severe respiratory symptoms
Damn.
and had a disproportionate impact on young, healthy adults. In 2020, amidst the bustling streets of Wuhan,
Here we go.
a novel virus named coronavirus
It's the most information I've gotten.
I know,
How long
right?
we've been at
This
this
is,
now? I mean,
emerged, swiftly encircling the globe, overwhelming hospitals, until the world, united to develop vaccines. Did you know,
Okay.
overwhelming hospitals, until the world, united to develop vaccines.
And you know what's so crazy about this short? They leave this video is like they want you to watch part 2, and they stop.
Oh, yeah, they
in
leave
the
you.
part
Yeah.
I'm talking about. I don't get much information. It's
They
great.
leave you in suspense. For
Weird.
part
On this
two,
day in
right?
neighbor history,
Yeah.
the Fratterville mine disaster of 1902.
All right, now we're talking
Did
about
you know
mine
pa-
disasters.
That
So
was interesting.
I had COVID twice, and I never got the shot.
Oh, wow, really?
And I know
Okay.
the big thing was to get the shot. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I do struggle with surrender. I do. When I was a kid, I didn't go to the doctor a lot. It wasn't like something you did. Like if you got hurt, you just
Oh, okay.
dealt with it.
Put some ice on it, right?
Yeah, I've gone through a lot of things without like running to get to get help. And I don't know, it was just a personal preference. I guess it was instinctual. I was just like, I'm not getting it. And then I got COVID, and then I remember like I was kind of interesting because I got paid a lot for my job just to chill. So that was kind of cool.
Wow, yeah.
And
Yeah.
have you ever had COVID?
So weirdly, no. As far as I'm aware, I have never actually had COVID.
So
I have the COVID tests. When I got really sick. Actually, I got sick last week. I tested myself. No COVID. It's very strange. I've managed to somehow, as far as I'm aware, avoid getting COVID. Or if I ever did get it, it was such a minor, load of the virus that it didn't really affect me that badly. But whenever I've tested myself, I've never
Well,
had COVID. Which is
let
really-
me
really a funny
tell
thing.
you
Yeah.
what it's like to have COVID because I've had it
Oh,
twice.
you do, yes, because I've heard stories, but you have direct experience. So.
All right, so the first time I got it, It had snowed, so it was actually February, and I believe
Okay.
it was 3 years ago. Yeah, it was probably 3 years ago.
Okay.
So, to my credit, like I went out and shoveled snow. I was doing all this show. I was
Wow.
making it happen,
Wow.
and I just came in, and I didn't feel sick. I just felt like I just wanted to lay down. Like I didn't have
Okay.
I wasn't motivated at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I just laid in my bed and I felt kind of weird, but I didn't feel sick. And like the taste, the first time I remember eating like a bag of chips and I didn't taste it very well. But to be honest, like it wasn't like a sinus infection where it was like that's annoying. That's difficult.
Yeah, you didn't have the full like stuffy nose.
No,
and
and
all that.
I was
Yeah.
just kind of like just not tired. I just didn't have any motivation to move at all.
wild.
And then I just
Yeah.
watched a lot of television and I played a lot of video games, so that was okay.
Right.
And then the second time I got it was very similar, and it didn't last as long. And I got paid for that
Okay.
one as well. And I just remember the same, just laying in my bed, and I was watching a lot of shows. And then to the
Right,
point where I was like, I guess I'll just watch more TV. You know, it was just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
6 hours of television, 8 hours of whatever. It
Oh
was,
man, yeah.
and,
yeah, right?
if I was to just give you some key words, I would just felt unmotivated, and I just had no vigor. There was no vigor. I didn't feel horrible. I just didn't have any.
Oh, okay. Just
Like
the loss
you
of,
know,
loss of
sometimes
vigor and-
when you're feeling better, you're like you get an idea about something you want to do in your house, and you just go like get the screwdriver and you make
Yeah,
that
you
happen.
get to it, right?
And you're like,
Yeah.
I thought about it and I did it. You could think about it all you want, and you wouldn't go do it. That's how I would
Just
describe
no-
it.
oh,
Yeah,
that's
you're like,
interesting,
oh no, I ain't doing that. I got
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I managed to, yeah, again, it's as far as I know, but I managed to avoid it for the most part. And to this day, luckily, I haven't had to experience COVID. Now, I've gotten sick with other things, colds and, who knows what else, but not COVID as far as I'm aware. So,
Yeah, and I don't
lucky,
even
really
I-
lucky there.
I don't even think we understand the scope of it yet. I know that it's done a lot of things
Right.
to education and things like that. I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
got a college degree the year it happened, and I couldn't even go walk and get my diploma. Like I was
man,
one of
you
them.
You didn't get to do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're one
and
of
I-
the people who never got.
I
to.
worked-
That's a shame, man.
I worked hard in
Yeah.
some of my math classes, man. I really had to work hard, and I feel like it
Oh,
almost
yeah.
never happened, and I never got to celebrate. And I know a lot of people feel that way, and it's weird that I actually
Yeah.
was one of them. The person came to my house and gave me my diploma. Was like, here you go. I
man.
wanted the party. I wanted the dinner. I didn't get it.
Yeah. I think the ripple effects of the pandemic, as far as children, their education,
Yeah, especially in America. America, we're
their
pretty
experience-
behind
in
already.
America at least, right? Yeah, and exactly, yeah, and their experience in school at the time, the loss of certain those American cultural like milestones. I know people at work whose kids missed their junior or senior proms.
Yeah,
Homecoming dances were kind of a thing. They missed
Yep.
activities, graduations.
yeah.
Like yours, they didn't actually happen. They didn't get to walk to get their diplomas from either high school or college in some cases. It's
Yeah,
just-
it
it's a
put
shame. It's
it
a
put
shame.
a pause big time on
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So I have to see this real quick. This is Gemini, and I want to ask it how long the COVID pandemic was in America.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
All right, let's see. I bet you it won't even answer it.
I think it went from 2019
Hey,
to 2022.
How
That's my
long
guess.
was the COVID pandemic from 2020? All right, let's see if it answers. The COVID-19 pandemic was a significant global event that impacted the world for several years. Okay,
Several years, it says. Okay.
let's see. So I want to see. Overall, the COVID-19 pandemic has lasted for several years, and its impact is still being felt around the world. While the public health emergency is over, the virus has not disappeared, and it's important to stay informed and take precautions to protect yourself. Okay, so it ended on May 5th, 2023, when WHO, whatever they stand for,
2023. Okay, I was off
Yep.
by like a year.
so it went from early 2021 to May 5th of 2023. That's a significant amount of time. Remember
That is
flatten the
very
curve?
significant.
Remember
Yeah.
5 weeks That is, what is that? It's like 2 years.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, remember the masks? Remember how we didn't even get into that? That was crazy. You had to go everywhere
Oh
with a
yeah, you had to
mask.
wear a mask, and in some cases,
Ah,
you would get like completely, basically ostracized from a place, or
Yeah.
worse, if you didn't have your mask on.
ah.
I remember being in I hired a car. It was like an Uber or Lyft. I don't remember which service. So, but whichever it was, I remember very briefly. I had my mask on, of course, in the car when you could, and I remember, my nose, like I had a runny nose, so I quickly, lowered the mask, did the tissue thing, put the mask back, and I got docked. Like, I guess the driver reported it as
Wow.
like a problem, and I got like the warning, like, hey, you've been reported as not wearing your mask.
Wow.
Wow, man, that was like, it was a split second,
And this was
and
on-
I was conscious that, hey, I gotta be careful here. But
This is
if I'm
Uber? What
quick
was
and don't
this?
breathe, I figured,
Where did this happen?
this was in a Lyft or Uber
Oh.
ride. It was a car. It only happened once.
Wow.
Um,
wait. The driver.
I still have very high ratings on them.
The driver gave you.
Yeah, the driver flagged. So one of the apps, you could flag someone if they weren't following the. You could flag a passenger, I guess, if they
Oh.
weren't following the code restrictions.
Whoa.
No, I didn't get knocked any ratings as far as the stars. I'm still have pretty good ratings on these apps.
Yeah.
But that one time, it was interesting because the next time I used the app, whichever it was, it gave me this warning like, hey, by the way, you've been.
I caught you.
You've been flagged. Please keep your mask on at all times. It's like one of those.
Damn.
It's like
you got
friendly reminders, right? And I was like,
You
wow,
got
they're not
snitched
playing
on.
around here.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
do remember that. This video is getting super long. I guess these COVID video could be like hours long. There's just so
They
many
can.
parts.
As long
to
as
it.
the pandemic, right?
Exactly. There's,
Yeah.
You brought up a great point, and there really is just so many more stories, and it's just this was so strange to have the world
Yeah.
shut down, to become
It was
so
such a
secluded.
strange phenomenon.
And you weren't
Yeah.
even allowed to drive on the highway for a while there. Like
I remember
the
that.
state police
Initially,
saw you couldn't go nowhere.
Interstate travel was restricted
Yeah.
in certain respects, unless you had a specific type of job or
Yeah.
your emergency or police.
I
or whatnot.
remember
Yeah,
I
it
rented
was
I
crazy.
rented a hotel like probably in like 2022 or something. It was annoying to rent that. It was really
Oh
ridiculous.
yeah. I remember that. I remember doing that too.
Yeah.
I remember going on a vacation in, I think it was 2020. It might have been 2021, but it was so odd. Like, we got the place. It was actually one of those like kind of campground places. So it was outdoors, but we got a place, and it was nice. I mean, it was pretty cool, but everything was outside. Like, there was all the things like, oh, don't go inside.
Yeah.
Don't be in an enclosed space. Stay 6 feet or 2 meters away from one another. It was like it was just like.
Yeah, and then all those
Crazy.
illegals that the Democratic Party put through the border. Yet while COVID was happening, it's just so crazy. If you think about how many came through, like what COVID was strict. Remember? You don't go
I remember
near
you
anybody.
crossing international
And then
borders
they-
was, well, for most people, out of the question.
And then
for a while at least.
millions of people came into our country undocumented, and
It really,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
there are a lot of, it's like, I don't remember where I heard this from, but I don't blame people for trying. I mean, if your life is that bad and you figure out, hey, I'm going to get a better life, or at least a chance at my well-being, out of utter misery by going to this country, sure, I don't blame them for trying, but the issue becomes, okay, the country you've come to, in this case, the United States, right? It can't just have a completely open, non-porous, like, hey, everybody in. Like,
Yeah, well,
what's
I'm-
the point, right?
I'm
no border.
comparing it
No
because
country, right?
when a lot of it was happening, I'm comparing it to the
Yeah.
lockdown that was in our country. We had to be locked down,
right.
but they were moving more than ever, and they were coming
It
in,
was
and
so-
it was known, and it's just a
It
weird.
was so.
weird
It
thing.
seems to me too, yeah, that our system was so it broke somewhere in the last like 80 years, and I've used since the post Second World War, right? Something broke very badly, and then come COVID-19, you have this, the undocumented sort of, you'll have that in a country like ours. You'll have it, but the stories of the people pouring across like there's nothing there, like it just does make you
There were many moves. that
question our
were-
leadership at least.
Excuse me. There was many global things that happened during COVID. A lot of shuffling, a lot of everything, a lot of stuff happened. I don't know.
I do think a lot of people took advantage of a very difficult situation. people in charge.
I think they'll be peeling
And
this
others.
onion for such a long time.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
To
It's a big one.
summarize, for me, COVID wasn't too bad. I got through it. I mainly got to isolate, learn, be with my people, do my thing. So it wasn't too bad for me. And I did get paid both times I had COVID, so that was all right.
That's not. Yeah, I was lucky too. I had I could work from home. I'm very grateful. No one I know, though they may have gotten COVID itself, no one I know died because of COVID during the pandemic, or because I'm very, very lucky. Anyone who got sick recovered. You know, what more can I say? It's really lucky there.
Well, I'm glad we talked about it because nobody else seems to talk about it. There's so much more I could say. It's almost endless because it's just how many things it affected. But who knows? I think they'll be making movies about this 20 years from now. You know they make like Kennedy stuff in like the 90s.
Yeah, right.
And
They'll
then
be
they
the
make like all of the stuff happening now is, I think, going to be, everything. Especially
they'll
now
make
that
movies about this.
now that they're in there looking at the budgets and all. Like, I don't know. I feel like we're always in unprecedented times.
Oh God, yeah.
But anyway,
Yep.
I'm glad we're here to do what we need to do, and we made it out.
Agreed.
So it's all good.